Farabloc is a fabric, and it has a unique quality of being an electromagnetic shield. Frieder Kempe actually invented this concept some years ago. One of his family members, had an amputation and had phantom limb pain. And this, of course, produces pain on a very chronic and ongoing basis. And Frieder's idea was to try and do something to assist his father. You may have heard of stories where change in the weather, other factors like that may affect pain, particularly rheumatic pain and phantom limb pain. And sure enough, by putting this fabric over the amputated stump, pain was relieved. And this was quite a shock to us when we heard that. And a study was done at University of British Columbia in the Rehabilitation Medicine Department on phantom limb pain in a scientific manner with a double-blind crossover type study. And it was found to be effective, reaching the rigors of statistical significance. So that led us into being more interested in this. We're forced to theorize about that. We don't really have any evidence from the research projects that have happened so far to be able to look at the cellular level and to see exactly what happens. But we have several theories as to how that might affect pain and inflammation. We started on a study at UBC following the phantom limb pain on a condition known as delayed onset muscle soreness. This we could create experimentally in human subjects very safely and ethically. And we then tested Farabloc against a placebo fabric. These subjects worked very hard for 30 minutes doing eccentric exercises on a weight training machine. And under normal circumstances, this would produce pain, swelling, weakness that would last about a week. You probably recognize it as being stiff after playing squash or doing something like that that you haven't done for a while. And in this study, we found not only was the pain relieved, but the 5 blood factors looking at inflammatory markers were also improved drastically in those that used the Farabloc. We have shown that it has some effect on muscular activity, on the damage done to muscles in heavy exercise. And we have some evidence from another study done in West Germany on fibromyalgia, which is a rheumatic condition that is known to produce painful parts in the back and neck, that it also was successful there. So we suspect that this is useful in pain and inflammation and would stand up as an analgesic or anti-inflammatory fabric. Farabloc is a fabric. It's got very fine steel alloy fibers woven with a synthetic fabric, and it looks almost like linen. And it can be then applied directly to the skin. It could be worn as a sleeve around the knee, around the elbow. It could be used as a gown. It could be used as a back support. And in that way, we produce a situation where the pain is, it can be applied safely. There's no restriction on the use of other approaches to treat or help the individual who's suffering from those situations. There's no complications known with Farabloc, and there's no indication not to use physiotherapy or other forms of oral analgesics. But we're finding most people prefer to avoid drugs and would love to stay with something they can just wear. Back in 1999-2000, when this paper was presented to the Canadian Academy of Sports Medicine, it won the award for the most outstanding research done in that year in sports medicine. And I think this made us feel very strong about the results and about the way it was accepted by the scientific community. I've never had any study like the delayed onset muscle soreness study work out so clearly as this particular study did. And so it was remarkable from that regard, particularly when we were somewhat dubious as to the ability for a fabric applied externally affecting internal metabolism. There are studies going on. Farabloc Corporation has initiated studies in other parts of the world on osteoarthritis of the knee in particular at this stage. And so there are areas in Singapore, in Australia, and is now spreading to many, many countries throughout the world. As far as we know, we haven't got studies that demonstrate its use in these injuries, but from a theoretical perspective, one would assume that for bumps, bruises, strains, things like that, that may take several days to weeks to recover, may be shortened dramatically, not only in the relief of pain, but in the recovery of function. So in other words, it seems to block the inflammatory response, reduce the amount of free radical damage, and get the person back into action more readily. It should apply to those that are recreational athletes, to elite athletes, and also to individuals who suffer from the weekend warrior stuff. I've used it. I've got a little bit of arthritis in my left knee, and I use Farabloc very regularly there, and it's helping me, and I can't really explain it fully, but it seems to work very well.